Imagine, if you will, industries shaped not just by, the big corporate giants, but by dedicated individuals, people who tirelessly build the actual tools, the infrastructure that everyone else ends up relying on.
It's off of those hidden figures, isn't it?
Exactly. And today, we're doing a deep dive into the world of one such pioneer, Johann Anderson.
Ah, Johann Anderson,
Hmm.
a really significant name in the cannabis space.
Absolutely. So, our mission today is to unpack his remarkable journey. I mean, his name is deeply embedded in the evolution of the cannabis world.
He really has influenced it from the underground days right through to where we are now. This much more sophisticated present and future.
Yeah, we'll trace his path from, believe it or not, sketching comics back in 1990s Germany
Right, quite the start.
to creating these indispensable digital databases,
Yeah.
innovating in edibles, which we'll definitely get into. And now he's actually building the next layer of essential cannabis infrastructure.
It's quite a story how one person can essentially archive a whole culture, bite by bite, seed by seed.
Precisely. So settle in. This is going to be a fascinating look at digital innovation, some real culinary alchemy, and just this incredible entrepreneurial spirit that keeps defining and redefining the cannabis landscape.
Sounds great. Where do we start?
Let's start by setting the scene. Picture Germany, back in the 1990s.
Yep.
This is where we find Johann Anderson, and he's deep in what people often called the hemp underground.
Right, this wasn't the era of licensed shops and slick branding we see today.
Not at all. This was grassroots,
Wow.
driven by passion, a real sense of community, and it was all happening in this largely, unregulated environment.
A very different world.
And Johann's early work, incredibly diverse, creative. He wasn't just watching from the sidelines.
He was involved.
Deeply involved. He was sketching comics for some notable German cannabis publications like Hanfblatt and Grow.
Those were important magazines back then, weren't they? Kind of lifelines for the community.
Absolutely vital. They offered growing tips, legal updates, just a sense of shared identity for a pretty dispersed group. They were the voice, really, and Johann was helping shape that visual side of things. But he wasn't just drawing. His entrepreneurial side was already kicking in. He was on the ground, literally selling edibles at festivals.
Wow, okay. Direct market research, you could say.
You could. That hands-on experience must have given him incredible insight into what people actually wanted, needed, long before cannabis became more mainstream.
Sure.
And later, he even ran a head shop, which would have been like a physical hug for this community, right? Fostering connections, providing tools.
And what's really key here, I think, is how those early experiences shaped everything that followed.
How so?
Well, being so embedded in that culture, making content, selling products, running a community hub, it gave him this almost unparalleled view of the gaps, what was missing. He saw the huge appetite for reliable information, for ways to connect people. This whole period, it wasn't just about participating, it was about absorbing the challenges, the needs of that community.
And that understanding became a driving force.
Exactly. It became this recurring theme in his later massive projects.
Which brings us perfectly to maybe his most defining project, certainly for a long time, SeedFinder.eu.
Ah, SeedFinder. Launched back in 2007.
Yeah, 2007. And this wasn't just some website. It became one of the very first comprehensive cannabis genetics databases out there.
Truly groundbreaking at the time. For many people, it became, like you said earlier, a kind of digital Rosetta Stone.
That's a great way to put it. For breeders, growers, even just curious consumers.
The scope was just massive.
It really was, and still is. It offered this incredible wealth of information. You could find detailed strain lineages, trace their genetic history.
Climate maps, too, I remember.
Yeah.
Helping people figure out what might grow well where.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huge lists of breeders. And maybe the most important part, community-fed grow diaries.
That crowdsourced element was key, wasn't it?
Totally. It made it this invaluable open resource. It really democratized knowledge in a way that just hadn't existed before, pulled back the curtain on a world that was often pretty secretive.
And the archiving power. Just phenomenal.
Astonishing. By 2023, SeedFinder had logged something like 36,000 strains
36,000.
from nearly 2,000 breeders. Think about that. It basically became the culture's memory, preserving all this vital historical data that could have just vanished.
Easily lost, yeah. Especially in such a fast-moving, informal scene back then.
For instance, it documented really critical periods, like the whole gelatos Kittles era.
A really defining time for modern genetics.
Absolutely. So much crossing, so much development happening. Without SeedFinder, a lot of that history, those specific origins, they could have just disappeared into, the haze of an evolving industry.
It's a critical point, actually, in an industry that was, let's face it, pretty fragmented, where information was often just word of mouth or kept private.
Right.
SeedFinder was this radical act, open source knowledge preservation. It didn't just document the culture, it helped professionalize it.
How do you mean?
By creating this standardized public database, Johann Anderson didn't just solve the data problem. He empowered countless growers and breeders. He fostered a much more informed consumer base. And he provided a verifiable history for an industry that was still kind of figuring itself out.
That makes sense. It moved things out of the shadows.
Exactly, into a more transparent, data-driven light. It was genuinely foundational work.
And it's worth noting, after 16 years of running that incredible resource,
16 years is a long time.
it is. He made a big change. February 1st, 2023, he stepped away from SeedFinder.eu.
Passed the torch, so to speak.
Yeah, passed it to new stewards so he could focus on his next projects. Which just speaks volumes about his constant drive, doesn't it? Always looking to innovate, build the next thing.
Always moving forward.
And his innovations, as we're about to see, they weren't purely digital. Let's shift gears and talk about his move in the early 2010s. He went to Tenerife in the Canary Islands.
Ah, yes. The move to Tenerife, that was a significant shift.
Why Tenerife specifically?
Well, he was drawn by the Cannabis Social Club model, the CSC model.
Okay, what was different about that?
Unlike Germany's stricter rules at the time, the CSC model allowed members to collectively grow and share cannabis. It was more about self-regulation, community focus.
It's a more progressive framework then.
Definitely. It offered new opportunities, a different way of operating legally, or at least quasi-legally, within that structure.
And he didn't just move there and observe, he got stuck right in.
Oh yeah, he served as both secretary and chair at ACMTHC.
Which was a pretty prominent CSC in Playa de las Americas, right?
That's right. So that hands-on leadership, it really shows his commitment, not just to the plant, but to the community, to setting up compliant operations, even fostering, healthy competition within that regulated space.
So it's about building responsible structures around it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Directly impacting how people accessed and used cannabis in that context.
And if we connect this back, this shift from purely digital archiving
Right, from SeedFinder.
to getting directly involved in a regulated physical space like a CSC, and then diving deep into edibles and club management.
It really showcases his adaptability, doesn't it?
Absolutely. He didn't just stay in his digital comfort zone.
No, he embraced the whole spectrum. Cultivation, community management, actual product development. That versatility is, I think, a hallmark of true innovation.
Understanding where things are going and actively shaping it.
Yes, not just watching. Applying knowledge in very tangible ways.
And speaking of tangible, he applied that knowledge to create actual award-winning products. This is where it gets really interesting. His achievements in edibles.
Ah, the edibles? Yes.
We're not talking theory here. This is hands-on product development that got serious recognition. His teams won, more than 7 first and second place prizes for edibles alone.
And over 15 cups for flower, too, I believe.
Right. So it proves his practical expertise went way beyond just digital mapping. He could deliver real, high-quality products.
He became known as this edible alchemist.
Good term for it. He acted as a consultant, engineered chocolates that won cups, developed these innovative instant formats.
And these weren't just your average brownies, were they?
No, he was focusing on cutting-edge stuff, like water-compatible formulations, baking-stable ones, fast-acting edibles.
That's pushing the boundaries, addressing different consumer needs, different uses.
Exactly. And here's a really fascinating little detail. He actually holds patents for joint-shaped edibles.
Does he really? That's
Yeah.
quite specific.
Isn't it? It shows that incredible mix of inventive spirit, but also a sharp eye for market appeal and practical product design.
What's really striking about his work with edibles, I think, is how it connects the dots. It bridges science, culinary skill, and market understanding.
It's not easy, is it, making water-soluble or bake-stable cannabis products?
Not at all. It requires a deep grasp of cannabinoid chemistry, food science. It's complex stuff. So this move really shows his ability to translate those scientific insights into practical, consumer-friendly innovations. It's a commitment not just to documenting the plant, but to maximizing its utility, integrating it better into everyday life.
That focus on user experience, product effectiveness.
That's a key differentiator,
Right.
especially in what's becoming a very crowded market.
That's right. And he's always looking ahead, isn't he? always building the next thing. Which brings us neatly to his current big project, 420 Base.
Ah, 420 Base. His next chapter, as he calls it.
And it really sounds like it's shaping up to be this maker-first hub for the industry.
What exactly does that entail?
Well, its purpose seems really multifaceted. It's a space for processing, extracting, refining cannabis, but also a knowledge base. Cataloging techniques, tools, detailed how-tos.
So a practical learning resource?
Exactly, a hands-on hub. And crucially, it emphasizes community, giving small makers, independent brands, a place to connect, to publish their work.
That community aspect again.
Right. You might already know his calculator tool online.
Oh yeah, the potency calculator.
Yeah.
Very useful.
That's just one example of the kind of tools being developed within this 420 base ecosystem. There's more coming.
Interesting.
And then there's another invention, really ingenious and very reflective of that user-focused design we talked about, upscales.com.
Upscales. What's that?
It's billed as the first smart scale specifically designed for cannabis and edibles.
A smart scale for cannabis. Okay.
And get this, he apparently built it end-to-end himself.
Wow.
Impressive.
It's loaded with new functions, apparently.
Yeah.
But notably, it weighs in eighths.
Eighths, as in eighths of an ounce.
Exactly. Which isn't just some quirky feature, right? It shows that deep understanding of the market. In many places, cannabis is still primarily bought and sold in those smaller, sort of informal units.
Sure, that's a very common unit.
So having a precise, smart scale that's tailored to that convention, that could be incredibly valuable. For sellers, for consumers, for microdosing edibles. Makes perfect sense from a user perspective.
And he's actually looking for a partner now to bring upscales to market, which just highlights that ongoing entrepreneurial drive, not just inventing, but productizing, delivering.
So these new ventures, 420 Base and Upscales, they really represent this continued evolving effort, don't they?
How would you frame it?
It's about standardization, professionalization, democratizing access to tools and knowledge for the whole cannabis industry.
Moving away from informal methods.
Right. Moving from those often inconsistent ways of doing things towards structured, reliable processes. By creating platforms like 420 Base, sharing techniques, fostering collaboration.
And precision tools like upscales.
Exactly. He's not just participating anymore. He's actively building those foundational layers. The infrastructure, really, that will let countless others innovate and thrive, especially in the legal and semi-legal cannabis space.
Always anticipating what the industry needs next.
Not just information, but practical hands-on tools as well. It's quite remarkable.
So let's just recap this journey. We've traced Johann Anderson's incredible path. From the German hemp underground, sketching comics, selling edibles,
Long way back.
to founding SeedFinder.eu, that massive digital archive that basically saved a huge chunk of cannabis history.
A monumental contribution.
Then his strategic move to Tenerife, becoming a leader in the CSC model, earning tons of awards for those groundbreaking edibles.
Showing that practical hands-on expertise.
And now, venturing into the future with 420 Base, building that maker-first hub and designing the first smart cannabis scale, upscales.com.
He just keeps building.
He really is continuously writing the blueprint, isn't he, for how cannabis gets made, measured, and remembered, defining what an industry needs maybe before it even fully knows it itself.
It's true. And Johann Anderson's journey, it really reminds us that true innovation, the really foundational stuff, often comes from people who are just deeply embedded in a culture,
Right.
turning their passion into the actual infrastructure that empowers everyone else. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
About what?
Well, what does it truly take? Not just to participate in an emerging industry, but to build its foundational tools, to preserve its history, and even anticipate its future needs.
It's a profound question. His story makes you consider, maybe, what other industries could benefit from builders like him. These dedicated, multifaceted people who operate at every level, from the grassroots right up to cutting-edge tech.
Definitely food for thought.